Maybe I'll do that." The man whistled for his lab, but the dog was more interested in the gulls. "Looks like I'm going to have to go after him. 9 years old, and he's still nothing but an overgrown pup. Guess I'd better catch up with him." He laughed good-naturedly and took a leash from his back pocket, then looked back at Robert. "So you won't be hanging around here, right? The police do patrol once in a while, try to keep people off the property. Since it is, like I said, private, I'll be moving on." "Okay, well, be careful up there." Ben Miller called over his shoulder as he made his way down the rocks to the sand below. "It's a long way down." "Not long enough." Robert Magellan watched the man and his frolicking dog until they disappeared over the dune. He took off his dark glasses, rubbed a hand over his face, and tried to decide if he was pleased to know his neighbors believed he'd had nothing to do with Beth and Ian's disappearance, or pissed at the reminder that the investigation had once focused on him. "Don't take it personally." Joe Drabiak, chief of police of Conroy, Pennsylvania, their hometown, had told him, "The spouse is always a suspect, because usually when a person goes missing, someone close to that person is the one who made them disappear." "You're wasting time," Robert had replied angrily. "While you're sitting here trying to build a case against me, someone else has my wife, my son." "Let's get one thing straight, Mr. Magellan." Drabiak's voice had gone ice-cold. "I'm not trying to build a case against anyone. I'm only trying to get to the truth. Right now, my only priority is to find your wife and your son, and I couldn't care less whose toes I step on to do it, even yours. So I'll be asking you questions, and you'll be answering them. Believe me, everyone is doing everything they can to locate your family. Every cop between here and Gibson Springs is looking for them, okay? Don't think for a second that you're the only person we're talking to. They're all looking out there, looking for your wife and your baby boy. But you are here in my town, and that makes you mine. Got it? Trust me, I'm not going to be the only one questioning you. The boys out in the western part of the state want to talk to you. The state wants to talk to you, and the FBI is waiting in the wings. The longer you and I play this game, the longer it will be before we get out of here. So let's get on with this, shall we?" Robert may not have liked it, but he couldn't deny that the police had pulled out every stop to find Beth and the baby. Even he had to admit that the fact that they'd failed was no reflection on the effort. He'd personally witnessed Drabiak's growing frustration that neither his force, the state police, the FBI, nor any of the private investigators Robert had hired had been able to pin down any real clues to his missing family. How was it possible that a woman, a baby, and a Jeep Cherokee could disappear into thin air? He glanced once more at the dark water swirling around the rocks below, and pulled up the collar of his jacket. A brisk breeze blew in off the ocean, and clouds were starting to gather overhead. As the sky darkened, Robert walked back along the jetty toward the house. The man-made wall of rock extended along the entire line of his property on one side, gradually diminishing in height until it reached the road out front. He checked to make sure the outbuildings, the guest house, the garage, and the playhouse, were all securely locked before going up the back steps and into the main house. He made his way through the silent rooms, trying not to think about the countless hours he'd spent designing this home. So many times Robert had tried to imagine Beth's reaction when he brought her here for the first time. He knew she would have loved the fact that he'd bought the weathered shingles from a house that had been demolished in Maine, and that he'd had a guest house specially designed where Beth's sister Pam and her husband Rick and their children could stay. There was a walled yard where the kids could play safely, and a playhouse that Robert had sketched out for the architect, his own childhood fantasies come to life in clapboard and brick. The master bedroom in the magnificent main house had a balcony with an expansive view of the ocean, where he and Beth could watch the sun rise over the water every morning. He'd just about given up on the dream of sharing that view with her. His plan today